Hi everybody, most of you know me, but some of you may not. I'm Colin Bartley and I teach with Paul McCabe. And today we are at the Marriott Niagara Falls, Falls View and Spa, specifically talking about e-commerce, which will naturally blend a little bit into GDS, and there may be some overlap from your yield management course. So we're here with Jeremy Brown. Jeremy is the Assistant General Manager at the hotel, and he has a background that also includes a lot of e-commerce and yield management and internet reservations and that type of thing. So we're going to get into that today. So maybe we could just start off, Jeremy, with a little bit about your background and how
Sure.
you ended up in the role that you're in today.
Okay, so I started with Marriott in 2000 as part of my co-op. I was at Niagara College with the hotel restaurant management program there. I started in housekeeping as a house person at the Courtyard by Marriott. From there, I spent about a year in housekeeping, and then I transferred to the front desk. At front desk, I still worked part-time while at school, and that finished about a year and a half later. When school finished, I transitioned to a supervisor role, from the supervisor role to a front office manager role, and from there I was revenue manager for the Courtyard by Marriott, and that's something I've done for about 4 years. I worked at both the Marriott Courtyard and the Marriott Falls View. My office was here for several years. And from revenue manager, I went back to the Courtyard as general manager for several years. Courtyard is a select service property.
Right.
So in 2012, I moved over to the full service as director of operations, and then just this past January, now the assistant general manager.
That's great. Wow. So you've progressed quite quickly in a short number of years.
I guess it's been 14 years now.
Right.
Basically, starting housekeeping all the way up.
And I think you just recently did some other education in addition to your college program.
Yeah, in 2011, I started my MBA at the University of Guelph.
Right.
Did that for 2 years. So while I was doing MBA, I was general manager of the hotel, transitioned to a new job.
Yeah.
And now GM. And
wow. Congratulations.
Thank you
That's
very
great.
much.
So how would you say your role today, or maybe even some of the roles in the past, have impacted the hotel from an e-commerce perspective?
Sure. So as revenue manager, we deal with all the e-commerce channels. Expedia, hotels.com, Priceline, what used to be TravelWeb is now Priceline as well, Hotwire. So in the initial stages years ago, we actually had to set it up, and we'd have a separate extranet to manage,
Right.
in addition to our own PMS system,
Yeah.
where it would go through the internet or by fax machine. We'd have to manually put in each reservation into the system, and then we'd have updated booking. Where right now we're at real time, so you can book on TravelWeb,
Right.
or Expedia, hotels.com, booking.com, and it's automatically linked to our system, and we get
Wow.
real-time data.
So did you have any sort of formal education that helped you with that transmission, or as you progressed through and technologies changed?
Yeah, so a lot of it had changed over the course. There was a little bit. Marriott always had some training through their website and through their HR programs,
Okay.
to learn about the e-channels. And each time a new one came up, they would come out with information about it. Now, usually, the information would come after the initial load of all the
So
e-channels.
the training
but-
wasn't necessarily real time.
No, the training often would come more from the actual third party or
Okay.
e-commerce channel or OTA, whatever you want to call them today.
Right.
And that's where we would learn about how to use their extranet, what their expectations are, what the net rate is, or what their commission rate is going to be.
Okay. So you touched on a couple of terms there, extranet and OTA. Can you just explain what those are?
Sure. So what you might call an e-channel, we also refer to as OTA, online travel agency. So that's Expedia, hotels.com. And what was the other? Extranet. So we used to manage another page, and they still do exist. Because we're a large brand, we have access to get real-time reservations in our system.
Right.
Now, for example, Joe's Hotel down the street may still want to participate with Expedia,
Mhm.
but they don't have their own PMS system that might
Right.
integrate better.
Okay.
So they would log on to the website,
Right.
load all the rates and information in there.
Mhm.
When a reservation comes in, it would either go into a hopper or basically a place to store the new reservations, where you
Mhm.
click on it, you print it out, you put it in your system,
Okay.
and now you're up to date.
So that would be through the extranet versus the way you're doing it here is your CRS and your online bookings are all directly integrated into your PMS. Great. Okay, good. Hopefully all of you are familiar with those terms. We've covered all of those in class so far. So how important would you say e-commerce is overall to the hotel?
I would say, it's really important not just for the bookings,
Mhm.
but to get your hotel's name out there.
Right.
So you want to look at, check your ranking on the OTAs or
Mhm.
e-commerce sites. But the way you're saying e-commerce, I almost think of it as more like any booking that comes through the internet, whether it's our brand.com website.
Right.
If it's through a local, what's the Toronto one, like Tourism Toronto?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right, so you could book through there. Now, whether that goes to an extranet, and then you get the booking, or if it's a direct connect,
Right.
and it goes right into your system to pick
Right.
it up.
So a direct connect would, if you had an extranet, you wouldn't have a direct connect, is what I'm hearing you say. Okay, good. So the extranet is when the reservation sort of sits outside and then gets input in versus the other model is it's coming directly in, the
Yes.
direct connect. Okay, great. What percentage of the overall bookings would come through an e-channel for not necessarily this hotel, but hotels in general?
Okay, so I think that's kind of an interesting question, because I think it would fluctuate on the business you have for the day.
Okay.
So for example, in Toronto, if you're looking at, they're typically busy Monday to Thursday night.
Okay.
So they're Friday, Saturday night. If they need to sell some rooms fairly quickly, they can open up discounted rates on opaque
Right.
channels,
Right.
like Priceline or Hotwire.
Right.
And then they can sell rates at a lower amount than what you have elsewhere.
Okay.
A big part of Marriott is making sure that we're maintaining rate parity.
Okay.
And rate parity means no matter where you go, the rate is supposed to be the same.
Okay, so if I phone in or I go on your .com site,
Yes.
or I go through an opaque channel, or I
Yes.
go through a travel agency, or just the internet on Expedia or Orbitz or any
Yeah.
booking site. So your goal at Marriott is to make sure that the rate I see is the same on all of those no matter what.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
You want to make sure that you don't feel you're getting a better deal from booking on the Expedia.
And why is that?
Expedia
Why
Arch.
is that important to the company?
Well, if you think about it, Expedia books reservations for all kinds of hotels.
Right.
So if you're used to booking Expedia because you think you're getting a deal from them,
Mhm.
what's the incentive to book at the brand?
Mm.
Right? So instead of having customers that are loyal to the brand, you're getting customers that are loyal to the Expedia brand. Where it doesn't
okay.
matter what hotel they're going to,
Right.
they're just out for the best deal.
Right.
So there was some of that about 10 years ago,
Mhm.
prior to the Direct Connect coming through,
Mhm.
and the issues with rate parity, where you could offer a bigger discount to Expedia,
Mhm.
and the guests would come through Expedia to get the best rate.
Okay.
Now, rate is going to be the same everywhere.
Right. Okay. Good. That makes sense. I hadn't thought of it from that perspective that you want people to be going onto your site and
Right.
booking through you.
Yes, we want people to be loyal to ours.
Okay.
Loyal.
So it sounds like this is pretty complex and complicated and lots of different moving parts.
Yeah.
Is there one person at the hotel generally, at this hotel or at any large hotel, that's responsible for e-commerce overall, or are there multiple people involved?
Well, I would say at one point in time it was probably just an individual.
Mhm.
Now we're more of a team.
Okay.
So we have a director of revenue management. He has a couple analysts and a revenue manager that work with him. And then, this time of the year, we might meet twice a week.
Okay.
The GM and the AGM.
Right.
And the front office manager and discuss the rates that way.
Okay.
But in the summertime, it would be a daily thing.
Wow.
It's so dynamic of the changes.
Right. Okay, so it's not really just one person, it's maybe one person who's coordinating it,
Yes.
but it would involve the overall management and the revenue management team.
Right.
And what about your IT folks? Would they get involved in that?
Yeah.
No, okay, because it's all just being managed
Yes.
through your systems,
Yeah.
okay. So what are the biggest challenges that you've had with e-commerce in the last few years?
So I guess part of it would be the change from the direct connect,
Mhm.
or sorry, the extranet to the direct connect.
Okay,
So that's a large one there. Other changes would be implementing the rate parity
mhm,
and working to get our guests from, now this is not just e-channels, we're
Mhm.
talking about just online travel agencies right now.
okay,
Because we're okay with getting bookings through e-channels.
Right.
That saves us money, labor at the reservations office.
yeah,
But we'd like to switch from the OTAs to our own brand site.
okay,
So that's probably one of the biggest challenges lately. And you'll see some things, if you go to bookonmarriott.com or hilton.com or IHG,
yeah,
when you go to book, it'll come up and there'll be a website that comes called Room Key.
right,
And Room Key is basically the brands getting together and saying, okay, we've had enough of these OTAs.
okay,
We don't want to pay the commission for them anymore.
mhm,
We understand that people still want to shop around.
mhm,
So here's Room Key, and it lists all the different room types, or
Mhm.
sorry, all the different hotels that are available.
right,
You can select from there which book directly with the hotel websites.
okay,
So it bypasses the OTA,
right.
and it just goes right to your own book.
So I'm confused a little bit because it sounds like a few years ago, these OTAs were a great way for people to book and for you to get business.
Yeah.
But now it almost sounds like you're trying to squeeze them out.
Yeah, so it looks like we fed the monster for a couple of years, and it got quite big.
Okay.
So now we want to get ourselves away from it.
And
because-
why are they a monster?
Well, they've become so huge.
Right.
Expedia is not just hotels anymore.
Right.
It's airlines, it's car rental.
But if they're giving you business,
Sure, that's good. And
Right.
we do want them out there. We still want to use them.
right,
We just want to, let's say, use less of them.
Okay.
So let's say if I can get $100 rate
right,
through my own brand website,
right,
but I have to give them a commissionable rate of $25.
oh, okay,
So I'm only getting $75 from them.
right.
Right.
So at the end of the day, if a customer books through your site,
Yeah.
you're keeping more of that money in terms of profit.
Yep.
Because you don't have to, so the monster is keeping money, that's really what the issue is.
Yes.
When you said feeding the monster, so you're.
A little bit. Well, it's just getting bigger and bigger, and
Mhm.
it's taking more away from us. So
Right.
if we deliver a good stay for the guest, if they have a great experience,
Yep,
they're going to remember that they booked through Expedia and had a great experience. They may
Right.
not remember that they booked at and stayed at the Marriott
yeah,
and had a really good experience.
yeah,
So the next time they might go to book a room, they'll go to Expedia and say, it worked out well for me last time.
right.
We'll try it again.
Interesting. So the changes in e-commerce has resulted in possibly changes in brand affiliation and brand loyalty. Because what I'm hearing you say is that if consumers are always booking through Expedia or Hotels.com or whatever site,
Yeah.
they're loyal to that site, not necessarily loyal to Marriott.
Exactly.
So it's costing you more money to get that reservation through that site than paying for it or just having them book directly with you.
Yes.
Okay, great. So can you give me a couple other examples of e-commerce initiatives at your hotel? So one sounds like rooms booking is a big thing. Do you
Yeah.
use e-commerce for other areas of the hotel?
Well, I guess our hotel is listed as #1 on TripAdvisor. So
Okay.
that's very important to us.
Yeah,
So we use that as part of our marketing initiatives.
okay,
We also use, and I guess we want to make sure that our ranking on the sites are there as well.
Yeah.
So people looking for a hotel will come up.
mhm,
And then part of the e-commerce is, managing the Google page as well.
okay,
Whether it's pay-per-click reservations or pay-per-click ads to get ourselves up there.
right,
That's important to it, just to make sure that the name's out there.
okay. So really you're using e-commerce for revenue and for marketing is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Those are the two things.
Yeah.
So in terms of revenue, you're using it mainly for rooms revenue. Do you also can people book a spa reservation here or a dinner reservation through
Well-
an e-commerce channel?
Yeah, so I would say that, yes, you can book it through an e-commerce channel because we're referring to brand.com.
Right.
as an e-commerce channel.
Yeah.
But if you're specifically looking at OTAs,
Mhm.
then we tend to not sell packages through there because packages would be at a discounted rate or
Okay.
some sort of perceived discount. So we're
Right.
giving a discount
Right.
upon a discounted rate.
Right.
So there's really not the benefit.
Then
for us there.
you end up
But
not
a couple
making
things
as
we
much
might
money.
do. We might have a stay for breakfast rate.
Okay.
Which if you book through Expedia, you would be able to receive that as well.
Okay.
And because of the rate parity issues, we
Mhm.
have to have it on our brand.com website.
Okay.
We have to be on hotels.com.
Okay.
Booking.com.
Right.
So, you know, you kind of have to have it all out there. You can't have one, you can't favor one OTA over another.
Right. So anything that's available on any site is available on all sites?
Yes. The exception to that would be we can have different discounted rates or packages through our own brand website.
Okay. So not a package or just a separate rate?
You could do both.
Oh, okay.
So we have the flexibility to do what you do with our own brand website. So
Okay.
if you look at some of the look no further guarantees,
Mhm.
it's if you find a rate lower than what we have listed on our brand site.
I see, okay.
So you can find something lower on Expedia,
Mhm.
we'll give you, I think it's 25% off the lowest rate.
Right.
But it doesn't matter if you find something off of
Right.
our own website.
Okay. So you can offer a lower rate on your own website as long as it's only booked, only offered there, not offered anywhere else?
Well, that's not entirely correct either.
Okay.
So you could offer the lower rate on your website,
Mhm.
and you can offer it at other places, but you can't offer a lower rate other places and not on your own.
Okay. But does it have to be off so let's say I go into Expedia and the price comes up at $175 for
Yeah.
tonight, and then I go onto your site and find it for $165. I would only find the 175 on all the other websites. I wouldn't find it. Okay, so it has to be on all of them. Okay. So overall, how do you measure success of e-commerce? How do you know whether it's working or not?
Okay, well, we have a bunch of different reports that shows us where it's what we've done year over year,
Mhm.
showing the production from the different OTAs.
Right?
It shows the production on our own brand.com website,
Mm-hmm.
and then it shows our overall production. So we'll see, you know, which slice of the pie each worked on.
Okay.
And which one increased or decreased from the previous year. And if
Right.
it did increase or decrease, where did it go? Were we able to push them to brand.com?
Right.
Or is there a new engine that's coming up that people are going to?
Okay. So you're basically looking from your e-commerce after the fact, looking to say how much came from each different channel, and is that up or down year over year?
Yeah, now part of the challenge with that is that as long as we are selling rooms on brand.com,
Right.
we have to have rates available on all the other OTAs. We
Okay.
can't shut off one
Right.
and let the tap keep flowing on the other.
Okay.